Okay, so presented with the problem I had before about the fact that I couldn't remove said bolt from the corrector plate from the telescope. What I've done is I've gone and given it as good a clean as I possibly can, and it's come up better than it was. Obviously, there is some rubbish behind the corrector plate, which I think is probably going to be there until this telescope serves its last owner, which I don't think will be me. Um, I think, to be fair, I'm gonna use it still. I think it's still a very good instrument, um, but mainly for the use of planets and galaxies, globular clusters, and such. But I think for me, for the level I'm at, I need to consider another optical tube assembly. This one would be great for a beginner, just somebody who's shooting with a DSLR, just somebody who's maybe interested in just getting some basic galactic shots and globular cluster shots and maybe even planetary shots. It's a good planetary telescope. And the issues I've got don't affect that level of astronomy. So somebody could have a good telescope here. Um, I think for me, what I'm going to do is keep it going, keep it maintained, clean it, and then I'm going to save up, buy a Celestron uh, alternative. I'm probably going to keep with an 8-inch to be fair as well, because I'm not so sure that my mount will take much heavier than that. But yeah, there's the story. So in summary, couldn't get the corrector plate off because of said bolt had a detune innard, which I've never really seen before. I mean, how? I mean, somebody must really mess it up to chew that up. But then I'm starting to see how and why the original owner, whose name and what identity I can't even really remember now, and it wouldn't be fair to say it after all these years, but I can see why they got rid of it. I will at least be honest about that. How can I not be? I found out the problem. Um, but it is a shame I can't get the corrector plate off. It would have been good to do it, and I was ready to take it off. I'd actually had to build myself up to get the courage to take the corrector plate off. But there you go. Unfortunately, it's never been cleaned. And I think, I think a telescope specialist some years ago might have mentioned to me that he couldn't get the plate off. That he did try. So instead, we just resolved to clean the front corrector plate as best as we can. What I will say to anybody owning a telescope like this is they're fantastic in many ways. In fact, I prefer these over the Newtonian. But for God's sake, when you do use it, make sure you keep the eyepiece entrance at the back there sealed, even if you're outside. I mean, always make sure you put a bung or something in that, an eyepiece, a star diagonal with an eyepiece in it, a dust cap. I mean, at the moment, you can see that I've got a 2-inch adapter screwed into there with the dust cap on, and keep that on there because, I mean, as great as these telescopes are, they are generally sealed. So if anything goes in, and I'm speaking about flies, midges, wasps, any of the like goes in there, you are going to have problems getting it out. And what you don't want is something like that bouncing around in there against your mirror and your corrector plate. I mean, your corrector plate, you could probably weather the storm, but if it goes and gives your mirror a hiding, they've essentially written your telescope off. So one thing I always tell people, and even when it's in storage, is make sure you keep the rear part of that closed, because spiders will crawl into that and all sorts, and you do not want spiders' webs in the assembly. That really would be a quick way to write off an expensive piece of kit that's probably worth about as much as a family car. Anyway, that there is my assessment of where I am, or where I was. So I've cleaned this as best as I can. You can probably have a bit of a look, actually. I know you didn't see the operation. I mean, I don't like showing people what I do, because what might work for me might not work for other people, and I don't want any liabilities. But essentially what I've been doing is using these pec pads, of which I've not got many left. Well, they're these pec pads. So I've been using these. Obviously a blower to get any crap off first, which in theory works, but when the stuff appears to be welded there, it doesn't. And a humble brush here, so brushing off anything. And always use a blower and a brush to try to get any rubble off of a corrector plate or any lens before you take more evasive action. Evasive action I took, no, I did not use a bottle of Specsavers lens fluid. No. And let me say again, no, that is not what is in here. But in line with being environmentally friendly, after using this to clean my lenses, my spectacles, I hasten to add, not my camera lenses, I replaced this with a solution of deionized water and IPA, or acetone. And that's what is in here. So being a chemist, I know this stuff is a very, very good solvent. I was also using, which has been recommended by Vodder Valley Optics, this stuff, Zeiss. So this is also quite good, and I've, upon being educated by them and others, I've also switched from using my regular lens cleaning fluid to that. So that's a lot of what I've been doing. And of course, when the pack pads have gone as far as they can, I have used a brand new Barda cloth to gently wipe away and try to have a go at some of the more aggressive looking stains on it. And to do that, what I've done is I've actually sprayed the solution directly onto the cloth, not onto the corrector plate. And yeah, so that's essentially what I've done. So I'm not saying, I haven't recorded that part because, well, there's plenty of YouTube videos on how to clean a corrector plate. And plus, if I show someone wrong in their eyes, I don't really want the grief on me. I do based upon what I've been told, but based on how I've been trained. And if it works for me, that's what I run with. But anyway, that's what I've done to clean this. I'm reasonably happy with it now. I'm also going to clean the dust cap, this thing. I'm going to give that a good clean as well before that goes back over the top. But note what I have done here, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. This is laying horizontal. And the reason for that is you don't want any dust landing on the plate or indeed on the mirror. And I have seen people, YouTube videos, where they've taken the plate completely off. And wowzers, while they're standing there talking and narrating their video, half a ton of dead skin and everything is going down the tube and landing on the mirror. You do not want that. So this is why I've, whatever advice he gave. And to be honest with you, I was ready with the gloved up hand. I've got some gloves here and I've had those on so I could handle the plate cleanly. I was standing by ready to grab the plate. But if it had come off, then what you would have done was taken the outer rim off, then get a marker pen and mark on the side of the corrector plate, and obviously the area covered by that bar, up onto the side of the tube here. And that would at least show the correct orientation at which the corrector plate would come out. And then once it comes out and you've cleaned it, you then put it back in. My other plan was to lay it directly flat over said cloth there. That's a Carl Zeiss Jenner cloth that I had bought specially for this job. It is rather big, as you can see, and I shouldn't have all that rubbish sitting on it, truth be told. But I had that big cloth that I bought off of Amazon that was standing by ready for me to plonk that lens on. And then I would have had something standing by to cover over the mirror inside of this while I went in to clean this. So that is how the operation was planned, and didn't really go according to plan, and what I would have done. And if you wonder what the Tipex is on here, well, that is the collimation markers. So what I did one day was I collimated the telescope by eye, not using a laser. You have to use a defocus star for that on one of these. And when I got to that level, I then Tipexed off the Bob's knobs so I could return to that level. And looking at it, it's slightly out now, but that's not something I can fix at this moment in time. Anyway, waffled on for long enough. I just wanted to tell you the story so that you can follow suit if you're going to. And good luck.